The interrogation chamber fell silent as the alien council member dropped his neural probe, his 6 eyes widening in terror. The human prisoner, bloodied but unbroken, smiled coldly through split lips. "You should have asked for my call sign first," he whispered. The chamber's atmospheric processors suddenly hummed with an ominous frequency that made even the hardened alien warriors step back. Commander Marcus Chen had been drifting in his escape pod for 3 days when the Zarathi battle cruiser found him. His squadron had been obliterated during humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council, a brutal introduction that left Earth's finest pilots floating in the void. The aliens had expected a quick surrender from this primitive species, but Marcus was no ordinary pilot. He was Navy SEAL Team 6, Callsign Reaper, and death had been his closest companion long before he ever left Earth's atmosphere. The Zarathi Council chamber was a marvel of crystalline architecture, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent displays showing the conquered worlds under their dominion. High Counselor Vexton regarded the human with curious contempt, his elongated skull tilting as he studied this strange bipedal creature. "Your species amuses us, human. So fragile, yet so defiant," he hissed through his translator. "Tell us the location of your military installations, and your death will be swift." Marcus tested his restraints, feeling the energy bonds that held him to the interrogation chair. His tactical mind was already working, cataloging every detail of the chamber, every potential weapon, every weakness in his captor's positioning. "Death," he chuckled, the sound echoing strangely in the alien architecture. "You've got it backwards. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me." The other council members exchanged glances, their various appendages twitching with what Marcus recognized as nervous energy. Vexton activated a holographic display showing Earth's burning cities, the aftermath of their initial assault. "Your world burns, human. Your military is scattered. You have nothing left to bargain with." "Wrong again," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the pain coursing through his body. "I have something you'll never understand. I have training, experience, and most importantly, I have nothing left to lose." He leaned forward as much as his bonds would allow, his eyes locking with Vexton's primary optical sensors. "Where I come from, we have a saying, the only easy day was yesterday." Counselor Zethera, an insectoid being with razor-sharp mandibles, clicked impatiently. "Enough of this primitive's babbling. Use the neural extractor. Rip the information from his mind." As the neural probe descended toward Marcus's skull, he closed his eyes and centered himself, drawing on years of seer training and combat experience. The device made contact, sending searing pain through his nervous system, but instead of breaking him, it awakened something deeper. Every mission, every impossible odds he'd faced, every fallen brother he'd avenged, they all coalesced into a singular focus. "Pain is just weakness leaving the body," he muttered through gritted teeth, and something in his tone made the Zarathi technician operating the device hesitate. High Counselor Vexton stepped closer, intrigued by the human's resistance. "What is your designation, soldier? Your rank and serial number?" Marcus opened his eyes, and for the first time since his capture, he smiled genuinely. "Commander Marcus Chen, United States Navy SEALs, Team 6. But my friends call me Reaper." The name hung in the air like a physical presence, and suddenly the chamber's atmospheric processors began to fluctuate. Zethera's mandibles clicked nervously. "Reaper? That designation, it carries weight in your species' military records." "More than weight," Marcus replied, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. "It carries a body count that would make your worst nightmares seem like bedtime stories. In my world, when death itself needs a representative, it sends a SEAL." The Zarathi had intercepted human military communications during their initial assault, but they had dismissed most of it as primitive propaganda. Now, as they processed the implications of this particular human's identity, their confidence began to waver. Vexton accessed the stolen data files, his 6 eyes scanning the classified information about Earth's special forces. What he found made his blood run cold. Operation Neptune Spear. The Bin Laden Raid. Countless black operations across hostile territories. And at the center of many of these impossible missions was the unit designation, SEAL Team 6, and specifically, operatives with the callsign, Reaper. The reports, they cannot be accurate, Vex then whispered, his voice barely audible through the translator. One human, eliminating entire enemy installations. Impossible. Marcus laughed, a sound that somehow made the alien technology around him seem less imposing. We have another saying in the teams, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. And I've been trying very, very hard for a very long time. The neural probe sparked and died, overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of Marcus's mental conditioning. Years of psychological warfare training, meditation techniques learned from Tibetan monks, and the unbreakable will forged in the crucible of Bud's training had created a mind that simply refused to break. Suddenly, the chamber's lights flickered, and a new alarm began to sound. Zethera's compound eyes widened as she received a communication through her neural implant. High Counselor, there are reports of explosions throughout the ship. Multiple systems are failing simultaneously. Marcus's smile widened. Did I mention that I'm an expert in demolitions? Those 3 days in the escape pod gave me plenty of time to prepare some surprises. Improvise, adapt, overcome, as we used to say in the Corps before I went Navy. Vex then's elongated skull turned toward the chamber's exit as the sounds of distant explosions grew closer. How? You were unconscious when we brought you aboard. Unconscious? No, I was waiting, Marcus corrected. A good SEAL never wastes an opportunity to conduct battlefield reconnaissance. While you were congratulating yourselves on capturing me, I was mapping your ship's critical systems. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and I've been preparing for the worst my entire career. The energy bonds holding Marcus suddenly flickered and died as the ship's power grid destabilized. He stood slowly, working feeling back into his limbs, his eyes never leaving the increasingly panicked alien council members. The chamber's doors sealed automatically as emergency protocols engaged, but Marcus just chuckled. Locked doors won't save you, he said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. I've broken out of every type of prison you can imagine, and a few that you can't. The only thing that scares me more than death is going home empty-handed, and right now, you're between me and my way home. The High Counselor reached for his ceremonial weapon, a plasma blade that had cut down countless enemies of the Zarathi Empire. But as he activated it, Marcus was no longer where he had been standing. Years of close-quarters combat training had taught him that the space between thought and action was where battles were won or lost. The plasma blade clattered to the floor as Vex then collapsed, Marcus's makeshift garrote fashioned from his own bootlaces wrapped around the alien's throat. The cemetery is full of people who thought they were faster than me, Marcus whispered into the High Counselor's auditory receptor. Within minutes, the most feared council in the galaxy found themselves prisoners in their own interrogation chamber, bound with improvised restraints that would have impressed any escape artist. Marcus stood before them, no longer the captured human they had brought aboard, but something far more dangerous, a predator in his element. Now then, he said, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to having his orders followed without question. Let's discuss the terms of Earth's surrender. Spoiler alert, there won't be one. But I'm willing to negotiate the terms of yours. As the Zarathi battle cruiser continued to tear itself apart from the inside, Marcus activated the ship's communication system. His message was brief and to the point, this is Reaper. Package delivered. Death sends his regards. The Galactic Council had learned their first lesson about humanity the hard way, never underestimate a species that calls its warriors by the name of death itself. And as word spread throughout the galaxy about the human who had single-handedly turned the tide of first contact, a new understanding began to emerge about Earth's place in the cosmic order. They had expected to find prey. Instead, they had awakened an apex predator.